Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is Challenges of National Integration After Independence of India, a tribute to Jawaharlal Nehru on his death anniversary on 27th May. Today is 27th May and so I thought it prudent to take up this topic and how Jawaharlal Nehru molded our country and how he made our country a modern nation. So this is a tribute to him. Now let us start the proceedings. My lesson plan includes why this topic, definition of integration, challenges of national integration after independence, solution, contribution of Nehru in the making of new and modern India, and finally conclusion. So I shall take one by one points under this topic. So now let us start the proceedings. Why this topic? Today is the death anniversary of Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister of India, who continued for 17 years, and he died on 27th May 1964. Jawaharlal Nehru was the founder of the modern India. He wanted to make our country imbued with modern outlook, devoid of superstition and dogmas. He wanted to establish a democratic, secular and socialist society and wanted to instill scientific outlook among Indians. He wanted our country to become self-reliant, a big power and industrialized power. He wanted India should play a big role in international affairs by adopting an independent foreign policy. Definition of integration. What is integration? Development of the feeling of oneness among the inhabitants of the country, transcending primordial loyalties like religion, caste, region, ethnicity, sex, color, creed, language. Integration presupposes unity in diversity. It is just opposite to assimilation, where there is no diversity at all. Challenge of national integration after independence. What were the challenges that India faced after we got independence in 1947 from the yoke of British rule for 200 years? Problem of princely estates, problem of refugee on account of partition of India, administrative reorganization of army and civil services, framing of our constitution, establishment of democratic setup throughout India and conduct of election to eliminate feudal setup of British India, economic development to fight out hunger and starvation, removal of inequalities, injustices and cruelties meted out to women and weaker sections of society, a foreign policy which can protect India's sovereignty and integrity, removal of regional disparities, industrialization of our country, development of inclusive growth. So these were the problems that stared in the face of our newly independent country. Now, what kind of solutions were made to combat these problems? The process of consensus building among all sections of society and all stakeholders. Even in the Constituent Assembly, it was made a rule that if any differences crop up, then differences will be sought out by the method of consensus instead of division of votes. Friends, as you know that in Constituent Assembly, 81% Congress members were there. And so there was overwhelming majority of Congress led by Jawaharlal Nehru. The opposition parties were negligent, but Congress adopted a policy of consensus building. Constitution of national government. Although Congress got overwhelming majority in the independent India, in the Constituent Assembly, it formed national government under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, and out of the 14 cabinet rank ministers, 6 members were from different parties like Dr. Ambedkar, Syama Prasad Mukherjee, John Mathai. Annexation of princely estates. Friends, as you know that there were 562 princely estates prior to the independent India, and the British government had made different kinds of treaties agreement with these princely estates. Some of the princely estates were not more than 2 square kilometer in area, while some princely estates were greater than France in areas like Hyderabad. So one by one, under the able leadership of Sardar Patel, who happened to be the Home Minister and ministers of princely estates, he annexed all the princely estates except 3, Jammu and Kashmir, Junagadh and Hyderabad. In Junagadh, more than 75% populations were Hindus, while the Nawab was Muslim. And Nawab wanted to merge with Pakistan. But people of Junagadh did not want such move. And that's why a plebiscite was conducted, whereby 99% people of Junagadh voted for the merger of Junagadh in the Indian Union. Similarly, Nawab of Hyderabad did not merge his state with India. And so in September 1948, by the police action, Hyderabad was merged with Indian Union. In the case of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, Hari Singh, wanted to have an independent country, a neutral country on the pattern of Switzerland. But when Pakistani force and Pathans attacked upon Jammu and Kashmir, snatched Muzaffarabad, then Maharaja fled away to Jammu, asked military help from Government of India, but Government of India told him that until and unless he signed over the merger of Jammu and Kashmir with Indian Union, Government of India could not send military force. So on 26 October 1947, Maharaja signed over the annexation paper, and from that day around 100 aeroplane with Indian Army landed at Srinagar, and they fought against Pakistani attackers, and these attackers were flushed out from the major portion of Jammu and Kashmir. The battle continued for next 1.5 years, and so under the order of UN, a ceasefire was maintained, and now we see that Pakistan is still under the control of 1/3 of Jammu Kashmir, which is called Pak occupied Kashmir, which is capital at Muzaffarabad, Gilgit and Baltistan. Rehabilitation of refugees. Friends, as you know, because of the partition of India between Pakistan and Hindustan, around 60 lakh people were uprooted from their home and around 10 lakh people were killed. And so refugees were rehabilitated in different parts of our country. Fight against communalism. After the partition, so many communal rights broke out in and around Delhi and other parts of country. The government of India crushed all the communal rights, and law and order was maintained throughout the length and breadth of the country within a short span. Conciliation with communists. Friends, as you know that in 1948 there was a communist movement in Telangana area. They have snatched the major portion of lands from zamindars, nawabs, and distributed these lands among peasants. But government of India did not like their armed struggle, and so the communists were brought under the control of the authority. Establishment of socialist and secular society in India. In our constitution, the major objective of our government is to establish a socialist and secular society. Socialist society means to establish an equitable society where there should be fulfillment of minimum necessities to all, and a secular society where religion will not play in the political life of the people. A state will have no religion. No religion will be promoted at the expense of the state taxes. Reorganization of a state on the basis of language. And friends, you know that since 1953, when Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu were made two separate states on the basis of language, and in 1956, under the leadership of Justice Fazal Ali, a state reorganization commission was established, and so government started reorganizing states on the basis of language. And so you find that states of Haryana, Punjab were carved out on the basis of language. Annexation of French and Portuguese enclave into India. Friends, as you know that Puducherry or Chandranagar were two enclaves of France in our country. These enclaves were merged with India in 1954 by way of negotiation with the government of France. And similarly, the Portuguese enclave at Goa, Daman, Diu were also annexed in 1961 and made part of our country. Establishment of mixed economy. One of the important objectives of our government was to make great strides in economic field. The 200-year rule of Britishers has made our country pauper, on the verge of hunger and starvation, and so our leaders started the policy of mixed economy, whereby the private sector and public sector both will play important role, whereby public sector will achieve the commanding heights of the economy. Given the weak position of private sectors, it was incumbent upon public sector to take over the economic reins of the country. And it was also essential so that multinational companies should not interfere into our country's economic affairs, thereby bringing neo-colonialism in our economic field. And we have seen that how those countries which became independent became the victim of neo-colonialism led by MNCs. And the outcome was that although these new countries were politically liberated in economic field, they became subservient to MNCs, led by the capitalist countries like USA, Britain, France, Netherlands, Germany, Canada. Abolition of Jamindari system to break up the feudal setup of Indian society during British Raj. And that's why the government of India in 1951 abolished Jamindari system. Lands were given to the tillers. Sealing laws were enforced in different states according to the fertility of their soils. And by these sealing laws, the additional lands were snatched by government of India, and then around 50 lakh hectares of land were distributed among the landless people since independence. Enunciation of non-alignment policy by government of India in international affairs and the policy of peaceful coexistence. Friends, as you know that when our country became independent, the world was divided into two blocks. One capitalist bloc was headed by the USA and the socialist bloc was headed by Soviet Union. India decided not to be the part of either of the bloc. It will be neutral, but it will be more than neutral, because it will decide every international matters on the basis of merit. It will take help or assistance from both the blocs, because India was in dire need of technology, capital, and so non-alignment policy was far more than neutrality. Similarly, India adopted the policy of peaceful coexistence. It was the stand of government of India that irrespective of the political and social condition of other countries, India will adopt peaceful coexistence with different countries of the world, so that it can play a major role in international affairs. Contribution of Nehru in the making of a new and modern India. Nehru was committed to nationalism, national unity. For Nehru, it was India first and India last, transcending all kinds of primordial loyalties like religion, caste, creed, color, region, ethnicity. Democracy, rule of law, respect for the freedom and the dignity of the individual, social equity and equality, rationality in thinking, morality-based politics were the pillars of his basic approach to nation building. He has the immense faith and confidence in the Indian masses. He nurtured democracy. He had immense faith in democratic setup. and trained politician for parliamentary democracy. Friends, as you know that about 37 countries got independence between 1950 to 1960s, and in most of the countries dictatorship became the rule of governance. Democracy was destroyed by the leaders. But in our country, the roots of democracy was strengthened by Jawaharlal Nehru. He set up democratic institutions in different parts of the country. He conducted regular elections since 1952 and gave adult franchise to all. His step was very much criticized by the Western European countries, and they thought that it was impossible to conduct election in such a vast country. But Nehru successfully conducted 3 general elections in his lifetime. And now our country witnessed regular general election on every 5 years for parliament and for state assemblies. This is not a mean achievement. But regional disparities widened. In spite of his efforts to mitigate regional disparities, disparities could not be halted. The developed states like Maharashtra, Gujarat progressed by leaps and bounds after independence. States like Orissa, Bihar, Eastern UP slided down. Congress became weak with the passage of time. He did not pay attention upon the strengthening of Congress. Although in those days Congress was the only organization which had branches throughout the nook and corner of the country. But after the demise of Vallabhbhai Patel, no other congressman gave serious attention upon a strengthening of the Congress, with the result that Congress started weakening day by day. Nehru also failed to mobilize masses. Because of the shrinking base of Congress, he had to depend upon bureaucracy for the implementation of his 5-year plans and community development programs. He had also to depend upon bureaucracy for the mobilization on social issues. He miscalculated the Chinese design, did not strengthen military force vis-a-vis China. India had to taste the defeat. Conclusion: India is now by and large an integrated nation. Secessionist forces have been subdued. The feeling of oneness among Indians developed. India waged 4 wars against Pakistan and came out successful. Thousands and thousands Indians sacrificed in the war. Similarly, India fought 3 wars against China, one in 1962 where it tasted defeat, but in 1967-68 at Nathula Pass, Indian Army killed more than 450 Chinese soldiers. And similarly in 1988 at Samdrang Chu in Arunachal Pradesh, Chinese army were flushed out from the Indian territories. India is now an exporter instead of importer of food grains. It is counted now a major power in South and Southeast Asia without breaking its cordial relation with Russia. India has now become a member of Quad to contain China in the Indo-Pacific region. India is 10th industrialized country of the world. It is 5th largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, 3rd largest economy after China and USA in terms of PPP, I mean purchasing power parity. So these are not the mean achievement of India since it got independence in 1947 within a span of 75 years. Problems of ethnicity, sex, color, religion, language have been almost solved. Empowerment of women have been made by enacting several laws, by enacting Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, a Special Marriage Act, by the amendment of IPC, and whereby stringent law relating to rape and dowry death have been made. It has been ensured that at least 1/3 reservation should be given to women in municipal corporation and panchayat system. So India has now the largest representatives of women in local bodies. Although the vertical solidarity of caste have weakened, the horizontal solidarity of caste have strengthened with the passage of every election. So casteism now rule every election in our country, and this is a grave concern for all of us. Similarly, communal divide on religious line is widening day by day, and this is a matter of serious concern for all of us. But by and large, our country has now become integrated, transcending the primordial loyalties like language, religion, caste, color, creed. And India is now destined to become a great power in coming days. Thank you very much.